It's like the Muppets.
So, in Of Mice and Men, cruelty serves as a major social factor because people use cruelty to like better themselves and like make sure they're higher in society, and so they try to like put other people down while simultaneously raising themselves up.
See, now we got to hope and that somebody like has a follow up to that, and even if they don't, then you toss them the ball anyway.
Just throw it at somebody, like the teacher.
Okay, so she was talking about how in the book people put other people down to make themselves feel higher. So Curly, as the son of the ranch owner, he doesn't really like bigger guys just because he's small. So I think they were going around like the room and they were just talking, and everyone was like getting mad and laughing at Curly. And then Lenny's just like standing there. He's kind of thinking about like they're owning their own farm, and then Curly just goes up to him and like punches him and starts beating him up. And then I guess that makes him feel better, but then he gets his hand crushed by Lenny, so it kind of like backfires on him.
Oh, very good. Did you read the version of it, or did you see the version of it? Either way, or did you see both?
I kind of read it like a while ago.
Okay,
So.
all right. Ah, that's good.
My bad.
No, I think there's like in this book there's I think it's the most cruel book out of all of them because there's just not like one set thing of cruelty. There's many examples. One, the ones you gave about the dogs being killed. Early on in the book, they're talking about how George and Lenny always have to keep moving to find jobs because, you know, Lenny has like a kind of a mental problem and people don't really like that back then, and how he was accused of raping a woman by just touching her dress and he didn't really get like a fair trial. So that's really cruel. And like at the end of the book, this really killed me. You know, it's such a good book, and then at the end of the book, and then you just see, because like Lenny's such a big guy, he accidentally killed whose wife? Curly's wife. And then everybody came to go, you know, lynch him, but then his best friend had to George had to shoot him in the back of the head to kind of mercy kill him so he didn't get worse. So I think that's cruel.
Let me just ask a question. I'll go to Sammy's. Did they foreshadow?
Yeah, they did, because they kept when George talked to Slim, he was, you know, can he get like the talking about if he can get a puppy because he likes to pet stuff, but sometimes he like kills it because he puts too much pressure. And then when he was talking to Curly's wife, he was like, yeah, I like feeling soft stuff, but sometimes, you know, I go overboard. She said, oh, feel my hair, and then he kind of went overboard and snapped her neck. So it's kind of like foreshadowing.
When you said they killed him out of mercy, and you said that's cruelty, I want to say that's cruelty. That's so much supposedly. I mean, yeah, you kind of would see it coming, but then you'd have to put him out of his mercy because all the other stuff that he did, I mean, couldn't really do anything. He kept on moving on, so I guess that'd be the better thing to do.
I'd say it's kind of cool for like the best friend.
Yeah, I know cool for the best friend to do it, but at the same time, it'd be better for him.
It's better, but it's still cruel in my opinion.
I mean, that's hard to say.
Yeah. You know, the act of murder was cruel. However, despite being cruel, it was an act of mercy towards him. So he had to be cruel in order to enact this mercy and free himself from this not only Lenny's burden, or not only George's burdens, but
it's for the greater good.
Yeah, but for everybody, he's able to benefit that way, right?
Yes.
Got it. I like it.
Anybody else have one?
Oh, yeah. I think the book was like unnecessarily cruel because like I said before, there wasn't like one thing that made it cruel. There was like a lot of different small things. Like when they were looking for George and Lenny was looking for a job and George lied and Lenny was like, oh, why did you lie? He's like, I didn't get kicked in the head. And he's like, oh, I wish you did. I don't want to be like, I would never want to be related to you. Like, I don't know why I keep you around. That was so mean. And he has like a mental disorder. So like for him to like criticize him like that and was like, I hope you die. That was mean.
I feel like they really put the harm against people with mental illnesses with Lenny and George's relationship, because while Lenny considers George his best friend, George actually shows that he despises him multiple times, but will go and abuse the fact that Lenny does like soft things, or he does like things that are relatively cute. So George will bring that up to keep the semblance that he is a friend, because Lenny is strong. If George could get in trouble, he could have Lenny to defend him, but he's just using him for his own good.
So you're saying the relationship goes both ways, that there's things that George gets out of Lenny?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Somebody else? And even if all right, go for it.
I don't really know if this is cruelty, but I think it was towards the end of the book. I think it was after Lenny's killed by George. I think Candy and George were talking about like how they were still gonna talking about the farm, but George says that it was never gonna happen or something like that. And I think like during that time it was like the Great Depression, and it shows like how not a lot of people were fortunate, and since they were migrant workers, they had to just go wherever they were able to find work. So I think the situation of the country was pretty cruel against the people living in there, and that's why he was like, oh, it was never gonna happen, the dream, the American dream, I guess.
Talking about migrant workers. You said that. How is that still the case in 2017? People who move around with. What year is this?
2018.
What did I say, 17?
Yeah.
Oh, but what are you saying about migrant
Yeah.
workers? Yeah, it still happens because I know a bunch of my friends and some of my family, they do construction, and even if they have a job here in Georgia, sometimes they'll drive to Texas just to get a job because it's fast money and it's cash. So yes, I think it's still alive in 2018.
So that's still you can still relate to that theme of you got to move around, barely surviving. You got to move on, and hope you survive and then move on.
Basically, you have to scrap for work, and if you don't get your job, you can't really take care of your family.
It's very paycheck to paycheck
Yeah,
kind of lifestyle.
yeah. So you're basically working to provide. It's not it's something you do in your spare time. Like you can have a 9 to 5 and come home. You got to be on the road, going somewhere, and work on manual labor and stuff just to get paid. So.
Anybody here do the manual labor ever? What's it like?
It's tough. A bunch of when I went to go work with my uncle on construction, my hands were bleeding at first, because it's just so hard on your hands. But it's fun once you get to pay, because then you're it's cash, so you get tax taken out of it. But it goes both ways. It's hard work, but it has some benefits.
When I was working, I was really kind of weak. I couldn't lift anything. We had to lift, tires around. We had to lift rims. We had to, do very specific kind of safety features. And I did. Yeah, it was hard work. But once you got used to it and get paid, like you said, it was a lot of fun.
So you. Ooh, I tried to get it on the bounce. Is this book still relatable to people?
Yes.
Yeah. How so?
There are still a lot of people that abuse other people with mental illnesses just because they're different. I relate a lot to that part because I do also have mental illness, and it goes to the point where I've been mentally abused by my grandmother. She thinks that, because other people have it worse than me, that I shouldn't be depressed or have anxiety, that I should just get over it. But at the same time she was saying that, I was having suicidal thoughts. I didn't want to live. Everyone hated me. Thankfully I got help because my mother helped. But Lenny doesn't have any help. He gets help by having a friend or by soft things. But George abuses that friendship. With that mercy killing, I understand how it could be considered mercy. lynching, when you're hanged or lynched, it's a very slow death. If you're lucky, your neck breaks before you suffocate. You're slowly suffocating, while with a gunshot, it's quick because it's going to your brain. But since George did it, it could have been considered a sign of friendship, or that it's been what he's kept saying that he wants to do, that he doesn't want to take care of Lenny because Lenny's such a burden.
Yeah.
And there is people that still do that today where, hey, this guy has autism, he's very smart. Why don't I use him to do all my homework or other things like that?
Like exploit the
How their brain functions differently. Like Lenny's strong, but he's not exactly smart, or he can't control his bodily movements. So he's good as like a bodyguard, or
if he understands what he's even doing, it was a bodyguard, right? So
Yeah.
it's no, very good. All right. Did anybody get into the character of Crooks? Crooks is the. Go ahead.
So, like, you were saying before how, like, this book, well, it can still, like, relate to, like, now because, like, in the book, Curly's wife, there ends Crooks because he's black, and so she says how she can get him hung real easily because, I guess because he's black, and so this shows racism, which is still going on till this day.
Oh, very good. I'm looking at the time now. It's going to end, right? Give this group a hand. They got to the 12-minute point. Good.